Heyo friendos, welcome to today's video. In this one right here, we have the Natasha Denona holiday exclusive mini Metropolis palette. It also comes with a brush. We're gonna be reviewing this today. If that sounds good to you, just keep watching. So I think it's time we head to Sephora for a little definition on this product. What it is. A mini eyeshadow palette that is based on the best-selling Metropolis palette with shades inspired by the New York scheme of the 20th century. Free of parabens and mineral oil, it is also cruelty-free. This is a mini eyeshadow palette that is based on the best-selling Metropolis palette with shades inspired by the New York scheme of the 20th century. It includes 5 matte and metallic shades for a variety of looks. Sounds fantastic. Let's get into it. So we're gonna unbox it together. So normally these little mini palettes that Natasha comes out with do not come with brushes, so I'm pretty excited that we're getting a brush. This one is kind of tiny, but I'm okay with that. This is made with synthetic fibers, so should be cruelty free, like it says about the palette. And this is what she looks like inside. So if these shades right here look familiar to you, it's because these shades right here, here, and here are all available already in the Metropolis palette. So these are repeat shades, so be aware of that. If you already own the Metropolis palette, you may not need this one unless you are looking for a travel size component to take with you on your fancy trips. You know what? I'm gonna get into swatches. So here we go. Here's the bronzy gold shade. Very nice. Almost feels wet upon application. This is the beautiful mustardy camel shade. This one is matte. It didn't swatch quite as nicely as this one, but it still felt good on my finger. All right, this teal shade definitely feels wet. Whoa, that's pretty. Then we have the brown matte shade. Again, the matte swatched okay. It wasn't a perfect swatch, but we'll see how it applies on the eyes. And then lastly, this off-white khaki shade. Yeah, that one is basically the same tone as my skin, so it's not really showing up. So I'm not gonna do much prattling today. I just wanna get into doing a look. We're gonna try out all 5 shades in this palette and see how they perform on the eye. All right, we're gonna start out with the beigey shade. If my nails look gross, I'm sorry, they are stained up from dyeing my hair. It's barely gonna show up because like I said, this is definitely like the same color as my skin tone. All right, so next let's dive into this Camel mustardy shade right here. And this is my Anastasia, my famous little Anastasia Beverly Hills piece of crap brush. It doesn't feel too good, but it works. You guys know it well if you watch this channel on the regular. All right, so that went on very nice, very creamy. This wasn't the brightest and boldest pigmentation that I've seen from Natasha Denona, but it wasn't bad at all. All right, so let's try out this chocolatey brown shade, and I'm gonna go in with the brush that came with the palette. I'm still pretty excited to get this brush because I told you guys I wanted some with dark bristles that wouldn't get stained up. Okay, so I'm gonna go back in with the mustard and the chocolatey shade and kind of blend them two together. Blend them two. Blend those two together. I can speak English, I promise. So just being real with you, friendos, I was just telling my sister, this brush is not the best Natasha Denona brush I've ever used. It's just kind of flimsy, like it's soft. I don't think it's very high quality, just being real with you guys. That's the best way I know to describe it, because even though it's soft and even though it has like some firmness to it, like when I press, it has some firmness to it, it's really not doing a very good job of diffusing this makeup because I just feel like it's bending and not blending, if that makes sense. I hope it does. All right, so I'm gonna switch over to a units brush and then I'll go in some more with the mustard shade. I will say though, there's a lot of pigmentation with the chocolatey shade, like more so than with this shade right here. So the very next shade I'm going to use is the most exciting shade, in my opinion, in this palette. It's this beautiful cerulean teal blue shade. And I'm going to go in on my Units 204 brush. All right, there's a teensy amount of fallout with this shimmer shade. It's not really bad, but could be better. See it? All right, I'm going in with a Sigma E25. It's a little bit firmer of a brush. There, now I'm getting a little bit better pigmentation. All right, so I'll finish off the look with my Refer 14 going into the bronzy shade. So this gold shade is really sparkly and pretty. There's a little bit more fallout with it than the teal shade. I think as far as performance goes, that one is definitely the star of the show. From pigmentation to application, it's just phenomenal. I'll do my other eye. I'll put on some liner and lashes. We'll come back because I do have some other thoughts with this palette that I do want to share with you guys. So see you in just a minute. Okay, friendos, I'm going in with my P. Louise lip liner. This is in the shade Achievements. Then to top it off, I'll go in with the Lip Glaze by Nude Sticks. This is in the shade Nude 08. Okay, so my thoughts on this purchase overall. I really wanted to like this, but I have to tell you guys, it wasn't awful, but I am disappointed. So number one, this brush was just not that good. I mean, I get that it came free, but I was excited for it, and I have other Natasha Denona brushes that I absolutely love, but this one is not one of them. Again, it could have been better, and it wasn't. So also this shade right here is the same shade as my skin tone or as the primer that I put down. And that to me is a little disheartening. I was hoping that this would actually show up on my eye. I mean, there's only 5 shades in the palette, so it'd be good if they all showed up, but on me this did not. However, if you are of a different complexion, you might be okay with this shade right here. However, it just didn't work for me. For the brown chocolatey shade, I think this was one of the better shades in the palette. It was able to blend out okay, but it just wasn't her absolute best formulation of all time. The teal shade in the middle, I was expecting this to be very sparkly just by the way it looks in the pan, but it really isn't, you guys. You see, it's a nice little light shimmer, but I can't say that it's a sparkle shade. And then the Mustardy Camel shade. It just was not that pigmented upon initial application. I kept having to just build it up and build it up to get it to show up as nicely as I wanted it to. And then the bronzy gold shade was fantastic. I have no complaints about that one. It was wonderful Natasha Denona top quality. So I was very excited to get this palette. I do not own the original giant Metropolis palettes. The very large Natasha Denona palettes just don't appeal to me. The color stories to me just are not that attractive. And then on top of that, I collect makeup, and when people make palettes and there's just so many of them, especially when it's a luxury brand, it makes me less excited to collect it if I feel like, well, I have everything here now. I don't need to buy other palettes. And granted, you probably have seen all the palettes on my channel and thought, what are you talking about? You already have every single shade. I promise you I don't. I really don't. At least I don't have every shade in every formulation ever. So when they come out with those big palettes, not only is it unattractive to me because it's like, it doesn't feel as special. Like, I don't feel like they went in and curated, okay, this is going to be the color story. And then every time I apply that palette, you know, I can look at it and say, oh, that is the color story from the Metropolis palette. I can identify that right off the bat. That is just not true of these big palettes with lots of pans. I feel like I kind of went inarticulate on that explanation, but I hope it makes sense to you guys. Big palettes aren't typically my thing, especially for luxury. So I did not purchase the Metropolis palette when it first came out. I was excited to get this because I like this color story just looking at it up close and personal. I think that it's really pretty, but again, just not the best quality. And then on top of that, just the performance of some of the shadows were just very mediocre. They weren't terrible, but just mediocre. And when you're paying luxury prices, I just expect more. Even though this one is only $25, you're still not getting a lot of product with this palette. It says 0.8 x 5 piece, so I don't know if that means every pan is 8 grams or if just the whole thing is 8 grams. I had to confer with my sister on this. She thinks it's 8 grams per each pan. I'm going to look at her other 5-pan palette and comparing it to this palette right here. This says that it's 2.5 grams of product per each pan. So yes, so this is a mini. This is just her regular 5-pan, but I just want you guys to see that $25, this is the size that you are getting. It's pretty small. Not a lot of product for $25. Had the quality been exceptional, I would have been thrilled with this product, but sadly it just wasn't. And that's the unfun part of doing these reviews, is sometimes things just don't work out, and I have to say this palette is kind of a dud for me. I also thought it was very unoriginal, the fact that they didn't put in new shades for the palette. Well, they did put 2, but they're like the more tame, basic Becky shades in here. But you would think that like the exciting shades of the palette, that they would have done something new that maybe would be like a sister palette to the Metropolis palette and not just replications, but they did not. That's my review, guys. I'm sorry I didn't like it. I just didn't. Friendos, I think I'm gonna call it here. If you enjoy honest Natasha Denona reviews, please subscribe to my channel. I always want to keep it real with you guys. I know other people might review this palette and give it a very positive review, but you know, we all have different opinions, and this one was just not up to my standards for luxury. It was really fun hanging out and playing in the makeup and just seeing what could be done with this palette. I'm really glad that I tried this out. I might keep this in my collection just for reference sake, but yeah, it's not going to be something I reach for very often. You guys know I didn't like it. I did not like it. I hope this video helps you out. And if you haven't subscribed, and if you choose not to subscribe, just know that we will forever have to live our lives in the melodrama of never knowing what could have been. Alright guys, bye.